wonderful peeps out in YouTube land. We're back. Just an old movie reference. They're back.
I'll be back.
From Poltergeist. They're back. Today we're going to be making
Well, we're going to do the refresher on the biscuits.
It's a refresher on the biscuit recipe, and we're actually going to measure. Now, any of y'all that know me, you know I just half measure. I just go by what I see and take it from there. But for today's video, we're going to give you a refresher on the biscuit recipe, and we've actually measured it. You're going to start out with 3 cups of flour, 1/3 cup of powdered milk, and a stick of butter. And I put out 2 cups of warm water, and we'll see how much of that it takes. Because I've never measured the water either. But we've got our 3 cups of flour. Excuse me, I'm having a non-lucid moment like somebody else I've seen. Not her. I'm not talking about my girl. But you do that. You put your 1/3 cup of powdered milk in. And you get out your dough cutter.
Handy dandy dough cutter.
Yeah, you gotta have that handy dandy dough cutter. And we still got our nice recipe for Alfredo sauce. Still stuck to my cabinet. I ain't letting that go. You put in your stick of butter. And you just use your handy dandy dough cutter to cut it in. And we are having some issues today. Me and her both.
And we have a stick of butter melting in the
pan for cast iron skillet. And we forgot to soften this a little bit before we put it in. Always soften it if it's real butter, because it's kind of hard to cut. I'm letting you cut it. If at first I don't succeed, I hand it to Phyllis. She's stronger than I am. And she can make biscuits just as well as I can. She learned from the best, didn't you, girl? We got to tout her on the horn every now and then, or toot it, isn't it?
Yeah, toot it. You toot a horn.
You don't tout it. It don't go tout. It goes toot.
Toot a horn.
We've been having a really off morning today, and we're just trying to hold it together.
And all this is pretty much everything we've done before, but we're adding it was going to be just roast beef gravy, but since half the roast beef was gone.
Somebody got hungry for roast beef.
So it's going to be
roast beef and
Black Forest ham.
Black Forest ham by Land O'Lakes. So we're having biscuits, gravy, and eggs. And the meat is in the gravy, so we don't need bacon. Or sausage. Some people prefer sausage. I prefer bacon. Hopefully this will work out. I normally always soften my butter, but like I said, I'm having thinking issues. I don't know about her, but I know about me. That you cut that up into those 3 cups of flour, And then you're going to take a fork and you're going to put your water in and you're going to do the mixing. Okay, you can put this in the dishwater. And if you want to make a meal and not have a lot of cleanup, have your dishwater ready and you can wash them as you go, and that way you got less to deal with. I take a fork and I stir this up pretty good before I start pouring in the water. But I always use warm water rather than cold because it makes it easier to mix the stuff together. And I'm just gonna, I started out, it was a 2 cup, this is a 2 cup measuring cup. And we'll be able to tell you exactly how much water it takes when we're done. Looks like it's going to take about a cup and a half. What do you think?
Yeah.
It's close to a cup and a half, and I can tell there's enough water in it. And you're going to mix all this up real good. You can turn that on. Oh, okay. She's on it. And now I need a scoop of flour so I can start making dough out of this.
Out of the way.
Yeah. Now, I don't cut my biscuits out. A lot of people do. If you cut them out, you just put flour on the surface, roll them, and use your biscuit cutter. But I prefer not cutting them out. I like them choked out. They ain't as pretty as the others, but they taste just as good, and it's easier and makes less of a mess. Now, I'm going to put some flour in around this and start working it into the dough mix till I can get it to the firmness I want it. And yeah, it makes a mess, so don't wear any rings or anything when you're doing it. Otherwise, you're going to have to clean the dough out of the ring settings, and that is never fun. Now I'll put some more on the bottom so that I can work it around it. Okay. And homemade biscuits are so easy to make. Yeah, it's messy, but they taste so much better than canned biscuits or frozen biscuits. I never did like frozen. How about you?
No.
Those don't taste good to me at all.
No. It's like the frozen vegetables. Like they just have a weird taste to them.
Unless they're fresh frozen, like what?
Well, yeah, like what you do, but like buying it from the store. As an extra cup of flour she added.
Yeah, and that's just
end.
So that
you
can choke these out and do the dip and flip, and she'll show you what we mean by dip and flip. But I get a little bit of dough and I coat it in flour, and you just roll them up.
Little blob.
Yeah, there's the dip
and flip.
And there's the flip. So it's really simple, but
yeah, people talk about I can't make homemade biscuits. It's like 3 ingredients.
4 if you add the water.
If you add the water, yeah. Well, even add the water, because it's flour. No, yeah, 4 if you add the water.
Yeah.
I was forgetting the butter.
Because the butter,
flour, powdered milk, and water.
Or if you want to use regular milk, it'll be 3. But I don't. I prefer using powdered milk. It's more economical. And in today's inflation prices, you got to take what you can make. You got to buy what makes your money stretch the farthest.
Oh, and the flour, always make sure you use self-rising flour. Not all-purpose or anything else. Use self-rising.
I almost always buy the Pillsbury self-rising, but the last couple of times I got it, it didn't do good.
If you use all-purpose flour, regular flour, your biscuits will not turn out.
Not unless you add baking soda and salt and
all that other.
And I never was taught to do that. I was taught to use self-rising. My mama knew how to take shortcuts. She had 10 kids. She had to learn to take shortcuts.
But the simplest way, just using flour, self-rising. And then butter, powdered milk, and water.
And if you got any leftover biscuit dough, I'm going to show you, because I'm going to have leftover. And I'm going to show you the best little dessert you can make with it. Oops. And that's warm.
Yeah, it's not that warm.
It's not hot, but it can get uncomfortable when it comes out of the middle. And you just keep turning your dough as you're doing it, and that way it recoats itself in the flour you got in your bowl.
Maybe squeeze one more in there.
Yeah, probably. About that size?
Yeah.
Okay, we got that.
We fit 11 of them in there.
We could probably fit another small one. Make an even dozen. I don't like uneven numbers. This ought to fit. We're going to have an even dozen. I don't like uneven numbers. I'm really anal about that. Okay. And she's going to put that into a 400-degree oven. Now, what you're going to do with the rest of this, I need a small skillet that can be put in an oven. Yeah, a cast iron, as long as it's can have this put in it flat. My mama used to do this when she'd have leftover dough, and it kind of gives me a sense going home. That'll work. You need to melt a little bit of butter in that, about a quarter of a stick. And you want to knead this a little bit more to get it a little firmer for this. And then you want to flatten it to about the size you're going to need it for your skillet. Which that probably. And we're going to do the dip and flip with it too. And I need cinnamon, sugar.
Yeah, I thought we had some already mixed up in the bag.
I thought we did too.
It's been a while since we made that.
We haven't made this in probably years. All right. she found the cinnamon and sugar mix that we mixed.
And you can actually buy it that way. You can buy pre-mixed.
Okay, we need to get that. Keep stirring it around until it melts. And I'm going to let you dip and flip while I clean my hands. Because my hands is feeling grody.
Yeah, they get really icky.
Yeah, they do. But it's so worth it when you bite into that biscuit.
Get that on the meal. Didn't realize we have extra, so we weren't prepared.
Exactly. I was hoping I'd have it measured out perfect.
Well, you usually do when you don't measure.
When I don't measure, it always turns out perfect.
Yeah,
and then I measure and I
and you got extra. You got leftover. See, that's where measuring gets you.
That's why I usually do it a gulp and a dollop and all that. Because I'm luckier if I do it that way. And we'll just be putting this to the side because we ain't got a...
Oh, yeah, the rack.
We got to get that other rack in.
Yeah, and we need to remember to put it in before we turn the oven on.
You know it.
Ooh, man.
Ooh, she made a mess, peeps.
Oh, like a pancake. And it made another mess.
And that time that mess went to the floor.
Okay. Get this out of the way. Here's the cinnamon and sugar.
Now, you want to coat this real nice with the cinnamon and sugar mix. I put extra on because this is going to rise like a biscuit. So you want it to have extra.
Oh,
now see what that looks like, people?
So pretty.
It's
like
prettyful. And we're going to have to get that in there so we can have this baking while the biscuits are baking. So
like
put it in.
It's like an elephant from the carnival.
Put it in. And then we'll take these out for a sec. Or no, just put it in there on top.
Does it go in that in first?
This way.
That's what I thought.
Now just raise them up to the top shelf and put this on the bottom. We survived the oven.
Ooh, that's a little warm.
Yeah.
Those things do get mighty hot, don't they?
Yeah. Now you want the biscuits on the top of it. And we got to keep an eye on those because those is going to get done quick. And we'll be back in about 15 minutes to start the baking. In the meantime, we're going to clean the kitchen up so we can make, or not bacon, the gravy. Pardon me, peeps. We're checking the crazy bread. That's what I call it. And you know, I think I put that shelf in upside down. See, it's sticking out further. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's done. This is what your crazy bread looks like. And it's delicious, especially with a good hot cup of coffee. Okay, now we're going to start making the gravy.
And the roast beef is Hillshire Farm.
The roast beef is Hillshire Farm. It's Land O'Lakes Black Forest ham. and there's about a third of a cup of grease in here. Now what you want to do is you want to start just dicing this up really small. I usually take it across and then come down with it. But it's easy to slice because it's pretty well shaved. And it is so good in gravy. Most people don't think about using roast beef in gravy, but roast beef is delicious and it can be used in about anything. Then once you get it sliced across, just turn your little cutting board around and start going the other direction with it. Just make sure you don't cut your finger. And I'm one who has a habit of having to watch real close. And the grease is pretty well melted. It's got a little bit to go, but you can still put it in there. There's plenty on the bottom to keep it from sticking. And all you do is just pour that in and start it frying. And most people think Land O'Lakes only makes butter. They make a lot of it. But you want to just, I like using a wooden spatula to stir it with. And then you just fry it slow because you do not want it to burn. I am one who, if my steak ain't a little black, I don't eat it, but you know, that's me. I am one who definitely doesn't go for rare, medium well. It better be done. If there's any pink in it, it goes back to the kitchen. And I'm not putting people down who eat that bloody stuff. I just don't like blood. Now once you get this slightly browned, you're going to lift it out to make the gravy. Because you don't want to have to try and fight with the meat to make the gravy. So you'll have your little bowl over there, and once you get the gravy made, then you put the meat back in it. My mama always made it, just left the meat in. I'm one who never could figure that method out. Because I like being able to see my flour mixtures and seeing the consistency it's at and everything, because I don't want no lumps in my gravy. That smells good, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine smell-o-vision, people. Smelling the cinnamon and sugar and smelling the meat. Oh, makes a house smell like a home. I'll let you get this into the bowl. And then we'll get started making the gravy. And I need a whisk for the gravy as well as in the milk. and I don't want to get popped. We're just joking back and forth. We're not putting each other down.
This one's trying to pop me.
I know, ain't it funny? I mentioned pops and it starts popping.
It starts popping when I get close to it.
You want me to try some of this in?
You.
Oh, you should. Yeah. I don't think you're having enough fun yet. Yeah, some of them got a little smaller than I intended, but it's still good. Okay.
There's a few tiny pieces of that.
Now, I need some flour and I need salt.
What do you want? The pink salt or the regular salt?
Regular. I don't do pink salt.
Is it half a cup of?
Okay. Now, I'm going to put a little bit of salt in here, not a whole lot. Because some people like more salt than others.
Like you?
Like me, I'm the original saltaholic, I think.
I refuse to clean the salt.
Okay. Now, we're going to start adding this flour. And you want to make sure your grease is good and hot before you start adding that flour. And I'm going to need just a touch more grease. So I'm going to be using about a little over that quarter cup. Because you don't want your flour,
you want it brown, but you don't want it burnt.
You want to burn it, and if you you've got it clumped up like that, it ain't going to be smooth.
You want it brown, but not burnt.
Exactly. You might ought to move that. I don't want any grease to pop in it. Just a little bit more flour. Now, this is to the perfect consistency to make the gravy. Now we're going to let it brown a little bit before we start pouring the milk in. Because when you start pouring the milk in, people, if it's dark brown, it turns light brown.
We got about cup and a half, 2 cups of water mixed with a third cup of powdered milk.
In this case, we don't put the powdered milk in dry. We mix it with the water first. But it just takes a little bit of patience to cook. And I love to cook. I love seeing people's faces when they bite into my food. You can tell a lot by that first look when they bite in. While I brown this, you might ought to check those biscuits.
The key to gravy is a lot of stirring.
Yeah. And a lot of hip action.
All in it.
If you want good gravy, you put in the hip action. With me, it's more belly action. Are they getting done?
Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty close.
Oh, this is looking so nice and tan. But we gotta let it get good brown so that the milk doesn't turn it
back
white.
Yeah.
If you serve white gravy and down south, they asked you whose paper in their house was wallpaper. They call it wallpaper paste. And I've seen people make white gravy and paste their wallpaper up and it stays for years. Okay, we can start pouring it in. We've got it a good bit brown, but pour it in faster, baby.
No, I know, it's just trying to...
You need to pour that in.
I'm trying.
Whoa. Just dump it in. There. And you're seeing lumps, but the whisk is a wonderful tool. It takes those lumps right out. We never have figured out how to pour it and stir it. I probably need to start doing the pouring and let her do the stirring, because I know how to pour it in quick. Because if you don't pour it in quick, you're going to get steamed. Not mad steamed. You're going to get hit by steam and scalded. But all of the lumps are already gone. I love my whisk. I won't be without a whisk. Because a whisk is an extremely important kitchen tool. Along with the food processor and the crock pot and the mixer and the blender. I gotta get me another deep fryer because mine quit on me, but usually I have a deep fryer too. Okay, a little bit. Well, no, just turn it off and we'll mix this in because it's going to be fine. Now you just pour this back into it and mix it in good. And voila, you got great roast beef and ham gravy. Now see how pretty that is, people? It makes a beautiful gravy. Okay, we need to pull this off this hot burner. Pull it over here. And we'll add a little bit of milk back to it while it's still hot. Because you don't want it thick. I don't know. I don't like thick gravy. I've seen people eat it so thick you had to slice it. I don't care for thick gravy. I like mine nice and smooth, but I want it to be to where you can pour it over a biscuit and then sop up the remainder with a biscuit. Okay. Now we will be back in a few minutes to fry some eggs. And until then, we'll be letting this cool off and keeping an eye on the biscuits, which we'll show you the biscuits when they're done. Our Royal Taste Tester has arrived. Now, this is how beautiful this gravy looks. And this is how your biscuits should look when you take them out of the oven.
Oh my. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Yummy.
This gravy is unusual in that it has ham and roast beef both in it.
Oh my god. Okay.
Most people have never thought of using shaved roast beef in their meat gravy. And I'm telling you, I've already tasted it. It's delicious. And we've got crazy bread like my mama used to make.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I
Well,
was gonna
Smell
flip-
this.
Yeah.
oh, yeah. Something about that smells.
Cinnamon and sugar
Mhm.
over biscuit dough that was left over from making biscuits.
And you used your iron skillets for everything today?
Oh, other than the eggs, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, give her a try. It's unusual to put roast beef in gravy. I understand that. But
No, it's good.
is it not delicious?
Mhm.
Now you can try a piece of gravy.
Yeah, you gotta try that.
Mm.
My mama was the queen of making up.
My mama's up there smiling down right now.
Oh, you know she is.
Mm.
We'll give you a saucer to put that
Yeah.
on.
That's good.
And we will see you again next week. Same station and probably the same time.
Yummy.
Good day to you peeps, and please keep Bloomington, Indiana in your prayers. Thank you.
Man, that is good.
I know,
What's in
right?
there? Roast beef and